which constitutes the scriptural canon for us. We Gaudiyas, the books of the Goswamis, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, so on and so forth. So by his example, primarily, and through a few words, his 8 verses, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has focused that teaching, that written teaching that he has given, on that which he did and showed by his example, that participation in Nam Sankirtan was the means by which he attained his ideal, which is an extraordinary ideal. Again, he is Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, coming in his Acharya Leela, as an Acharya, he's teaching, and teaching by example. And what is he teaching? He's teaching that which he came, to experience himself, right? And that being the perception and experience of himself that Srimati Radharani is privy to. So that's not an easy ideal to attain. He set out to accomplish something very extraordinary. And another name, well, to give an example, another name for Radha in the scriptures is Durga. Durga often refers to the goddess of the world presiding over Maya, which is Durga, difficult Durga to go from. It's also named for Radha, but which we would say difficult to go to. Difficult to go to, what to speak of attaining her bhav oneself, which is what Krishna set out to do. So it's a very, very high ideal, very difficult task. And this was his method. And he showed it by his example. Of course, the efficacy of Nam Kirtan is not something that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was the first to speak about. He draws on precedences in statements from the sacred texts that precede his appearance. He told Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, he told Sanatana Goswami and Chaitanya Charitamrita, and what he told him there is kind of the taking off point, if you will, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where he begins to speak to Ramananda Roy and Srup Damodar about Nam Kirtan. To Sanatan, he told that he glorified the 9 processes of bhakti given by Prahlad as the best. These are very prominent examples of what we call Swarup Siddha Bhakti. Those angas or limbs of bhakti that are so efficacious because they're inherently bhakti themselves, that even if we do them without knowing what we're doing, so to speak, they'll be in effect. Just like you may not know that fire burns, if you touch it, still you'll get burned. So they're very powerful, but within them, he singled out Nam Kirtan as the most efficacious among the efficacious. And this is a statement that Prahlad himself makes also in Srimad Bhagavatam. He says that those devotees who loudly chant your name, they're doing the best service. They're doing the best thing for themselves and obviously for others, which is one of the ways in which it's brought out that Nam Kirtan is a kind of a superior or the most efficacious means for deliverance. Again, that being that it delivers oneself, but when it's spoken, the Nam, or chanted aloud, as it is in Nam Kirtan, others benefit as well. So there's a collective benefit that occurs that will not, for example, comparatively, occur or accrue in other methods to achieve a transcendence, such as yoga and Gyan. And in a sense, when Mahaprabhu is glorifying Nam Kirtan, his method here, which again is the way it appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita, is at the very end of the text. And here's where we find these verses of Siksastakam are given one after another as if written methodically as an astakam, and arguably speaking in a way that connects to the stages, as I mentioned. Well, that glorification of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of Nam Sankirtan is prefaced by a whole lifetime, as it appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita. The lifetime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described prior to that, a whole lifetime of practice and so forth. Then the glorification of the Nam, and then further explanation of the 7 effects that are contained in the first verse in the successive verses of Siksastakam. So there's a preface to the statement that he's making here in the first verse that seeks to capture our faith, which in a sense tells us, well, the faith shouldn't be blind. There's an example behind this, a whole lifetime of practice himself. And of course, it's followed by as I say, 7 profound verses that pull out the 7 effects that are mentioned in the first verse. We're reminded here in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glorification of the name and Nam Kirtan, through which he tries to capture our faith, of the fact, of course, that as I say, in any procedure to go forward, faith is necessary, and so too with methods in pursuit of transcendence, others of which, of course, are Gyan and yoga. But we're reminded here of the Gita, and as well as the Bhagavatam, where the Gita ends by trying to capture Arjuna's faith. And Krishna says, Sarvadharman prityaja mamekam sharanam braja. Give up Gyan and Varnashram, karma and Varnashram, karma and Gyan, Sarvadharman prityaja, and mamekam sharanam. Take shelter of me, and me alone, and the result will be extraordinary. You will not incur any negative repercussions for that, and I will deliver you. This is the end of the Gita. So it's preceded by over close to 700 verses, and then it's followed, in a sense, the Gita, by a description, a lengthy description, philosophical, theological explanation in the narrative of his life in Srimad Bhagavatam, which begins on the same note. The second verse of the Bhagavatam is what? Dharma projita kaita vutra paramonya matsaranam satam. It's saying sarva dharma pratyaja mamekam. Same thing. Give up kaitava dharma, artha, kama, and even the pursuit of moksha. So this is giving up Gyan and karma and Gyan, and take shelter of bhakti. And of course, the bhakti that is most advocated in Srimad Bhagavatam, I cited Prahlad Maharaj earlier, but throughout the Bhagavatam, Kirtan is the anga of bhakti that is most glorified. The Bhagavatam ends with the statement, the last verse of Bhagavatam, glorifying Nam Kirtan as the way. Of course, Nam Kirtan is the way, and this is another way in which it is extraordinary in comparison to other methods in pursuit of transcendence. It's the way and the means, or the way and the ends combined. We look at the word kirtan, it derives from the verbal root kirti, which means fame. So it's about fame, about giving fame or glorifying, if you will, others. So it's fairly, for just from a simple common sense way of thinking about this, if you love someone, then you tend to glorify them, right? To sing their praise is something that you take great joy in. And at the same time, if you are to develop love in someone, to hear about their virtues, and to speak about them and consider them, by doing so, is obviously a way to attain love. So it is a way, and that's significant. We have to go into that a little bit more, but it's also the end. So we say that kirtan leads to smaranam. What you talk about, you'll think about. Smarana means meditation. And then within the meditative experience, in the fullest sense of the term, Krishna Lila is a meditative experience, a fully captured mind, fully captured by the Swarup Shakti that transports us into its realm for Lila Seva. And there we find kirtan going on. So kirtan leads to meditation. And within the meditation, we find kirtan. This comes out, I would say, probably more in terms of the last virtue or effect of the name that's described here in Siksastakam's first verse. We'll try to go through those briefly, but there we find the name. It brings us into the Leela. Now we have new senses and a way to participate in directly, a means to directly participate in Krishna Leela. And it's a land of song, a land of kirtan, for that matter. Jiva Goswami has described it as, or he questions, if the place is such that it's walking, is dancing, and it's talking, is singing, as described in Brahma Samhita, then what must be its dancing? What must be its singing? It's such a beautiful point. So it's there's kirtan to bring on meditation, and then within meditation, there's kirtan. So it is the means, and it is the ends. We see in the Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how he went into a trance of meditation through kirtan, and then he was brought out of that meditation through the kirtan of Swarup Damodar and others, which he said, what kind of noise were you making that broke my meditation? To differentiate the means, if you will, in Sankirtan from the ends. They're one, but they're like an unripened mango and a ripe mango. He was tasting the ripe mango, and he was brought from the taste to an unripe mango in the form of the kirtan as a way, so to speak, conducted by Swarup Damodar. So that's very extraordinary as a means compared to yoga and gyan, which are so much glorified in the scriptures, and which are given a lot of attention. It was very necessary for Vyas to be chastised by Narada, and very understandable why Vyas felt incomplete after thinking that he had completed his task of compiling the Vedic revelation in a literary form. He hadn't sufficiently glorified bhakti, which is a little difficult to understand. Whereas yoga and gyan are more obviously spiritual, or they appear, at least to the common person, more obviously spiritual. The yogi is sitting in one place, or in meditation. The jnani is a contemplative, away from the world, and so forth and so on, detached, and so on. Whereas a bhakta may be very much in the world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared as such to Prakasananda Saraswati when he was doing Nam Kirtan in Benares. And he thought, here's a sannyasi, he's from the Bharati Sampradaya, initiated by Keshava Bharati, so the word is on the ground. But instead of sitting and studying Vedanta with us, like other sannyasis, he's singing and dancing in the public. What's this? So it's a little difficult to understand bhakti because overtly it doesn't necessarily appear transcendental. It appears very similar to our material life, and it can run on a parallel with it. You can, for example, worshiping the deity, the object here is in archan, is to please the senses of the deity practically through cooking and growing and purchasing and all the kinds of activities that a normal householder would do, if you will. Ambarish Maharaj was a householder and of royal status, and he was fully engaged in archan and deity worship. So you can imagine the opulence with which his deity was worshipped, and look at him in contrast to the sage, the Jnani Durvas, who then, of course, unfortunately, offended him and was taught through that offense as to the virtues of someone like Ambarish compared to himself, his standing in relation to Narayan. So it was difficult for a Jnani like Durvas to understand the position of a bhakta, what to speak of for common people. So Vyas was compelled by Narada to speak about it in no uncertain terms, which is what, of course, the final work, Srimad Bhagavatam, is. And there, this Nam Kirtan is singled out amongst the angas of bhakti as being most efficacious. It's again, it's interesting to note, I think, that while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was glorifying Nam Sankirtan to awaken faith in us, as we might take it up as our means and as our goal, he is competing in a sense with other paths towards transcendence, Gyan and Yoga in particular. But there's something more than that, I think, that is in play as well. It's important to emphasize this point first, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's method and bhakti in general, and the method within that of kirtan, is very easy and user-friendly and has a higher reach than the methods of Gyan and yoga. So comparatively, it's easier. That doesn't mean it's easy, but it's comparatively easy. It's just, for example, it's much easier to think of Krishna than it is to try to get rid of all mental conceptions altogether. Brahman is undifferentiated, indeterminate, has no qualities. So to meditate on that, Brahman isn't even a knower. Brahman is knowledge, but it's not a knower, it's not an experiencer, it's not a doer. Difficult, and this is mentioned in the Gita, very difficult to conceive of that, compared to conceive of the deity. That's a differentiated and determinate feature of the Absolute, full of so many qualities that we ourselves, even as humans, find virtuous in human life. So it's easy, comparatively, to reach is farther, because in Jnana and Yoga, the means are not the goal. The means are left behind as we attain the goal. And also the goal is rather peculiar. And this is where I get to the second point I want to make, that while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in one sense is competing by extolling the virtues of Nam Sankirtan to collect our faith in its efficacy, competing with Jnana and Yoga, I think he's extending that to all other pursuits, even within the realm of karma, which are in pursuit of transcendence. Because, first of all, in his school, the nature of the self, the Atma, as described, for example, in the Sandarbhas, is exactly what we think the self is. We think that means to say that the self is an agent of action. We conduct ourselves like that, that I will things, I will to do things, and then I carry them out. And so I'm an agent of action. I have an effect on the world. I am I have the capacity for being a knower. I have the capacity to have qualitative experiences. I'm a qualitative experiencer of good and bads, happies and sads, and so forth. Now, if we compare this to the Gyan school, well, the Gyan school emphasizes the oneness between Atma and Brahman, and thus an undifferentiated sense of self that's not a knower, that's not a doer, that's not a qualitative experiencer. That's kind of peculiar. It's very different than how we think ourselves to be. In yoga sadhana, in yoga siddhanta, the self, the Atma, is described as not a doer, not a qualitative experiencer, but a witness, just witnessing. So these are rather, the sense of self within the school of Bhakti of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was much more robust and much more akin to how we think of ourselves, whether we think about it or not, how we conduct ourselves in everyday life. So it's really saying in the Bhakti school, just, you don't have to take the building down, you just have to lift it up and change the foundation, put it back down, and you can keep all 108 stories. It's not easy to change the foundation, but it may be less expensive and easier to do comparatively than to start all over again. Start from scratch and have to tear the building down to start with. So, I mean, to go further with that, and then, of course, in the schools of Jnana and Yoga, there's no love. There's only there's the absence of taking in Jnana and Brahma Sayuja. There's some appreciation in yoga and in Shantarasa of Bhagawan, passive adoration, but passive adoration falls a little short of the full measure of love. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching in the fullest sense is saying that the love you're after, you can have it. It's the goal, and it's attainable, and that love is fully expressed in transcendence through kirtan in a land that is really the realm of kirtan, proper, so to speak, where again the talk is song and all the song is about Krishna. All the talk is about Krishna. And from there, that comes here as the means to go there. So this is very compelling and very powerful, if you will, kind of idea. Just these two ideas, that it's the goal and it's the means at the same time. And this is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu begins when he speaks the first verse of Siksastakam to Chaitanya Charitamrita to Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar. He says it's means and the goal at the same time. Of course, I mentioned earlier that his Sankirtan, Kirtan and Sam, so Sam is the prefix, and it kind of qualifies further his method of Kirtan. One feature of that is its full Sam, again, as I mentioned earlier, that it delivers not only the chanter, but those who hear the chanting and thereby participate in it as well. But there's another sense, I believe, to the prefix Sam also, which speaks about the fullness, the completeness, some of the Kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that is with regard to the quality, because he is, well, he was described, his dispensations described by Raghunath Das Goswami as Nam Shreshtam, giving the fullest conception of the name, Shreya, the highest good. So this is then a quality to his Nam Kirtan, and this is, of course, Nam Kirtan is the means for deliverance in the age of Kali and so forth. And these ideas, as I say earlier, they predate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but now he's coming, and in the context of deliverance through the Yuga Dharma, he is combining the Yuga Dharma with Prem, because Harinam Sankirtan, what did Narottam say? Goloke Premadhan, Harinam Sankirtan. From the realm of Prem, this Kirtan is coming, this Nam is coming. And so there is a quality to the chanting. And the quality of that chanting that was exhibited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is our ideal, is the chanting is an expression, as I said earlier, of love. If you love someone, you naturally want to sing about them. It's effortless. You hear songs about someone else or something else, and in your mind you turn it into your beloved, and a way of remembering them and glorifying them. And there's such singing in the shower, as they say, and so forth. It's natural. It's effortless, and so forth. And so this is important to us because we should look at the method of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nam Sankirtan, in terms of the goal that it corresponds with. And then we will learn how to participate in the method in a way that's most effective. That means to say, we should not chant to get a certain number of chants done in a day, with that on our mind, but with a view to love Krishna, to glorify Krishna, to praise him. We have to sit with such a mindset and do our Sankirtan, which is can also refer to japa, Haridas Thakur's japa, which he was famous for, 300,000 names a day. 3 lakhs he chanted repeatedly through Chaitanya Charitamrita. It has been referred to as Sankirtan. So it's understood, and as I've mentioned this before, that if our japa, which is ordinarily thought to be a sub-anga or sub-limb of gyan, of smaranam, of meditation, if it's done aloud, it becomes a sub-limb of kirtan. So it's also a form of Sankirtan. But we should sit, or if we chant, aloud in song, with this in mind. We have to have that kind of collect ourselves in such a way. What I'm doing now is trying to love Krishna, to sing his name, in which all of his qualities are contained, all of his form is found, to be brought out. I could think of the form of Krishna in my mind, but when I experience the form of Krishna through hearing the name, then I'm really listening, really paying attention. Of course, as I've often said, the way to pay attention in our chanting is to chant with feeling, with love, because what our heart is preoccupied with, that will show up in our mind. So one way of speaking about this prefix sam, complete, is as such, that with a quality that corresponds with how it is expressed in the goal. We should try to chant in that way, as they are chanting, with love, with feeling, and paying attention, again, possible by giving our heart. So this is an important point to remember. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan, I've mentioned in my own commentary on Siksastakam, was very extraordinary. I said that, well, Nam Kirtan precedes him, and it's the Yuga Dharma of the age. He brought it to the world combined, woven together in a wreath with prem, and he gave that, of course, to Nityananda Prabhu, who with two hands is taking out and garlanding the world. No one has further, more widely glorified Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and circulated his method than Nityananda Prabhu and his agents, such as their speciality in contribution, terms of contribution to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. We find that in my Guru Maharaj, Om Vishnu Padasiva Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who was very much an empowered agent of Nityananda and had a very wide, broad campaign. But the quality of the kirtan woven together as that kirtan is with prem is beautifully brought out in Chaitanya Charitamrita when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates in kirtan were proceeding from Navadvip and arriving in Jagannath Puri, and Tripurari Maharaj, a budding devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, stood upon the roof with Gopinath Acharya, Sarvabhauma, and others to view the advance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates. He was there in Puri, and now the associates were coming from Bengal to join him for the Chaturmasi and Ratha Yatra. And the king, who had a very protected Hindu region there from the Muslim invasions, and preserved Jagannath Puri as the place of pilgrimage for Hindus of all kinds. Even the Buddhists worship Jagannath, the Tantric Buddhists. So with many different religious conceptions, people came to Jagannath Puri to offer homage to the deity of Jagannath, who's peculiar, of course, and could be thought of in a lot of different ways as to who he is. And so many different types of worshipers, and the king was acquainted with all types of pilgrims and all types of worshipers who had come to Jagannath Puri to pay homage to the deity, the towering temple of Jagannath and so forth. And the great Gajapati Raj, was the protector there, but he had never seen anything like the kirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates. Shivananda Sain, Dvaitacharya, Nityananda Prabhu, and so forth. It was very extraordinary, and he remarked like this in Gopinath Acharya. He said, "This is Chaitanya Shrishta Prem Sankirtan. It is the Chaitanya, it is of Chaitanya, it is the Shrishti, it is the creation of him. It's called Prem Sankirtan." So our Sankirtan, Sankirtan, I'm emphasizing here the prefix sam, means Prem Sankirtan. Thus it is the means and is the goal, and at the same time, and it should be chanted by us as a means in consideration of the goal and how it is chanted and sung by those who have attained Prem. Someone may question, this is brought up in Brihad Bhagavatamrita of Sanatana Goswami, how the chanting can be the means and the ends at the same time. The way he enters it there, as he says, it is inevitable that by Nam Sankirtan, one will attain Prem. Therefore, the two are the same. So this is amongst paths towards transcendence. Just from what I've said so far, I think you can understand that there's absolutely no comparison. A means that is so efficacious that it doesn't leave off after the goal is attained. In fact, it becomes the goal as well as as the means is perfected, is very extraordinary, and it's very appealing when properly understood to people of this world who have worldly goals, because it's saying you can love, you can have friends, family. Goloka is very family-oriented place, if you will. Of course, everyone loves one another, and the way they effectively love one another is by way of everyone loving Krishna more than anyone else. So they all agree on that. Therefore, they all have great love for one another, and their love for one another, of course, augments their love for Krishna. So these are a few things to consider with regard to Mahaprabhu's first verse, and how and why it's reasonable to talk about it in relation to Shraddha or faith, as I've been asked to do. The virtues, then, or the effects of Nam Sankirtan, sevenfold effects that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions in the first verse, that are then developed in the subsequent verses, we should go through, and they begin, of course, with Chaito Darpanam Marjanam. I think I must have discussed this in recent talks in relation to something, I don't know what, but it's always worth going over. Chaito Darpanam Marjanam, Mahaprabhu compared to Chitta, the awareness feature of the subtle body, of psychic matter. The Chitta is the microcosm of the macrocosmic that we call Mahatattva, which is the most subtle expression of the Maya Shakti, that, when touched by consciousness proper, reflects that consciousness. So it's a consciousness-like feature of matter, just like if you have a metal sheet, or and you shine the light on it, it will shine a light back. So matter has a kind of a qualitative feature, quasi-qualitative feature in its subtlest form. That's a whole interesting subject to develop. I don't think we have time to go into it here, and I have to some extent at other times. But anyway, that Mahatattva appears microcosmically, the macrocosmic Mahatattva microcosmic in each jiva, embodied jiva. So the cleansing of that chitta, which Mahaprabhu was compared to a mirror, when we reflect with our awareness on something, an impression from the world that comes on it. So impressions are gathered through the chitta, and then they inform our actions, and they remain stored there for a long time. Similar impressions group together and form what are called samskars, which, when those samskars are mature, they act as vasanas, or actual desires that we then are move in accordance with. So if we cleanse that mirror of the chitta, and we do it by way of Nam Kirtan and Bhakti, then on the mirror comes the image of Krishna. So it's not just cleansing the mirror itself, but cleansing it and putting another picture on it. Whereas in Yoga Siddhanta, for example, Chitta Vritti Nirodha, to cleanse the mind of vrittis and samskars, is the goal. But here we cleanse it by way of putting bhakti samskars on it. I've given an example before. If you go into a forest and you find a very peaceful pond, it can be the peace, just the serenity, the stillness of the pond can bring stillness and peace to the mind. Whereas if you come and throw stones in it, then it will, the conflicting waves and so forth will, if some kids come and, let's say throw stones, and you have to get up and stop contemplating the serenity and the peacefulness of the lake. But if you were to throw stone into the lake, and then another stone and another stone, but each one land in the same place, same center, then you would get concentric ripples, and you would add now beauty to the peacefulness, to the stillness. You would augment the stillness. You would, so to speak, turn peace into love, which is movement. So this is the idea of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's method of cleansing the chitta compared to other methods. Also, it's important to note that other methods for cleansing the chitta, which are there, like yoga and gyan, they have another effect. They cleanse the chitta, but they don't, let's say this, they cleanse the chitta. They're difficult practices, but they can be effective in cleansing the chitta, but they don't soften the heart. Sometimes we translate chitta as heart. They don't soften it. In fact, they may make it hard. So it's clean now. It's soft. Materially speaking, it's not clean. It's full of material desires, and it's soft. So it's full of sentiments. And it's the sentiments and the feelings, the emotions get in the way of reason. So with Jnana and Yoga, we bring reason to bear. That, as the Buddha did, the cause of our suffering is attachment, which is our feelings, our emotions, and so problem. So do away with them. But when you do away with your feelings and your emotions, then the heart, it becomes hard. And you become callous to emotion. Now, that's good in a sense when emotion is material, but there's a downside to this, that such a heart that has now got kind of this mukti samskar, and a longing, mumukshatva, for getting away from emotions and so forth, does not make it conducive for bhakti. This is a very significant point, because people who have material desires, that's one thing. Those desires are not satisfying them. And they can't have all of them at once. But if you want mukti, your desire for mukti has to be stronger than all material desires put together. That's one heck of a desire, and a powerful desire. And that desire, just for mukti, is making the heart very hard towards emotion, towards love, towards feeling. It's all illusory. So now if we try to turn that heart, that consciousness towards bhakti, which is all about feeling, granted these are trans-psychological feelings and so forth of a spiritual nature, but that heart is hardened in a certain way that it's very difficult to turn towards bhakti. So this is one of the significant downsides of other methods of cleansing the chitta. Whereas bhakti cleanses the heart, and samyan manashrita, prema is described as one of its marginal characteristics. Rupa Goswami describes it, samyan mashrinita, mashrinita. Yeah, that it softens the heart. Prema is characterized by a soft heart. Gyan is characterized by a hard heart. Of course, we're only speaking figuratively about the heart, but then again, when you go to prema, when you enter the realm of prema, in this meditative realm of Lila Seva, you have a body, you have a heart there, and hearts actually melt there. Not figuratively, bodies melt. In a positive way, not like the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz, but in a positive way, melting in love. So this soft heart of bhakti, you can see again how bhakti is very conducive to our present situation. It's just so, there's a similarity. So there's scope for love and emotion and so on and so forth. So the cleansing of the heart, which in one sense, again, is what yoga and gyan are aimed at. That's the end, cleansing the heart. Karma's over, process is over, right? But with Mahaprabhu's method, it's not over, and the means is the goal. So it cleanses the heart, and it melts the heart. On top of that, it softens the heart entirely. It gives prema. The second thing Mahaprabhu mentions is what, and so Chaitadhar Brahma, this is like cleansing the heart, anartha nivriti, moving from Anishta Bhajana Kriya to Nishta Bhajana Kriya, practice that's steady, which is, in one sense, what the second feature of his Nam Kirtan relates to. He says, Bhava Mahadavagani. He compares the forest fire, our material conditioning to a great forest fire. Here in Northern California, where I am, this is a big danger, forest fires. And once they start, you just have to stand back and pray for rain. You can bring in rain and firemen and so forth for days and weeks on end. But more or less, you can try to contain the fire, that it won't go any further. But where it started and from its center and so forth, it's not going out unless from beyond itself and beyond human intervention, rain comes. So the Sankirtan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like, it's like a rain. Sangsara Davanam Lidalo. It's like a rain that comes and extinguishes the forest fire of material existence. There's a famous story that comes to mind in this regard, and that is that there was a disciple of a guru, and the guru asked him to bring fire. I want to start a fire, so bring fire. So he used the term bring a fire. So the disciple was a simple fellow, and he said, where do I get a fire? How do I bring a fire? And the guru was frustrated with his kind of stupidity, and he said, go to hell and get it. So the disciple, in one sense, appearing not very intelligent, was very intelligent. So he went to hell. In other words, he followed the guru's instruction. He went to hell. And there he met Yamaraj, and Yamaraj says, what are you doing here? He said, well, my guru told me to go to hell. Here I am. And before he could get the rest out, Yamaraj was very impressed with the dedication of the disciple. And then he inquired further, why did your guru tell you to go to hell? He said, well, to bring fire. And then Yamar said, but there's no fires here. I mean, we have fire here. Fire is burning here, but it doesn't start here. Fire comes from there. Fire comes from the realm of karma. In this world, the world where you came from, that's where the fire is. And people bring it here. In other words, the burning up, if you will, and the consequence of our exploitive pursuits, our karmic pursuits, is something that we're reaping in the immediate. And life and it's perpetuating a life that's compared to a forest fire. So the fire is here. In one sense, there's hell, and it's here in our actions that are opposed to dharma, or that are dharmic, but that are only dharmic in the sense of being licensed taking. There's stealing and there's license taking, but there's no love in that license taking. So good karma or bad karma. So it's a nice story, but the fire is here. We bring it to hell, and then they stoke it down there. Then the third effect. But here this Bhava Navagani Nirvapana that Mahaprabhu speaks of, it refers to coming to Nishta, because now the fire has been put out. But when you put out the fire, there will still be smoke left, and maybe for a few days even. But the fire is now out. So in Nishta, there is some trace still of material desire, but it doesn't have any opportunity to ignite. The fire it's not going to reignite. The smoke is there. Material desires, seeds may be there, but the bhakti is so strong and so consistent. The kirtan is so attentive that those seeds are just drenched, if you will, with the flow of bhakti, and as a result, they become waterlogged. They won't grow. So the fire is extinguished. There's some lingering smoke, but now it's very clear that I have a distinct spiritual prospect, and now that's becoming apparent to me. My faith in the theory is being supported by my experience. I'm experiencing kleshagni, that the fire of material attachment, ignorance, is being extinguished. This is the problem. The thirst for things, this is the cause of our discomfort. If we lose the thirst for things and replace it with the thirst for Krishna, which is a very powerful, as we're saying, way to do that, then material life, even living in the world, won't be a struggle anymore. So this is Nish. Then we go to the third effect. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vartarna. Mahaprabhu is very poetic here in all of Siksastakam. Here he speaks of white lotus, Shreya Kairava Chandrika, that the moonbeam that opens the white lotus and brings Shreya, means the auspiciousness. This is speaking now about Shubhada, another effect of bhakti within sadhana. Within sadhana, there are two effects that are prominently described by Rupa Goswami, two features. It removes the suffering of material attachment, kleshagni, and it makes one's life auspicious, subhada. So this comes in ruchi. Now we're talking about extinguishing the fire, cleansing the heart. These are kind of positive negatives. Removing negatives can be positive. Now something positive is being described. From the other side, it's apparent that I'm being nourished. So this is ruchi, the higher side of sadhana bhakti, where there's a kind of a preliminary now longing starts to appropriately manifest in the heart of the sadhaka, longing in a specific way for the ideal, attachment to bhakti, and a particular taste for bhakti. And then, so what is the time? So I only got a minute. So from ruchi, of course, we go to asakti. Mahaprabhu says here that what vidya vadu jivanam. He says that the life of the wife, known as knowledge. This is Krishna Sankirtan. Classically in the Hindu culture, especially of times gone by, the wife played a very significant role in the life of the husband with regard to yogyas and so forth, sacrifice or participation. Really kind of made it all possible in so many ways. What Mahaprabhu, of course, here is saying is that this knowledge, this Sankirtan, is the wife known as knowledge. He's really referring to the fact that this Nam Kirtan is a function of the Swarup Shakti of Krishna, so which of course is fully personified in the person of Srimati Radhika. So she sheds light upon Krishna. Devasya Dimahi Bhargo Devasya Dimahi Bhargo Deva. He is Deva. Deva means playful God, refers to Krishna. Bhargo means light. We meditate on that light, that which sheds light on him, by which he is known. Krishna is known by his Swarup Shakti. Without his Swarup Shakti, he's Brahman. There's nothing to know about him. He has no qualities. But by the standing next to Radha, next to devotion, next to his devotees, then all his qualities come out. His form is a result of his having a Swarup Shakti. So Mahaprabhu was saying this Nam Sankirtan is full then of his Krishna's Swarup Shakti, thus it has the capacity to fully shed light on everything about him, if you will. And then, of course, he goes on Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. I'm going through these rather quickly, but forgive me, but I know your time is limited. So he says it is an ever increasing ocean of bliss. This is a very interesting point because it speaks about a kind of a transcendental becoming, eternally becoming. Prema is said to be full, but ever increasing, ever expanding. That's very peculiar. As I've said before, other schools like yoga and gyan, they speak about not becoming, but just being, because we're always trying to become what we are. We're a unit of happiness, so to speak, as an Atma, but we're trying to become happy. Well, stop trying to become by acquisition. There is happiness, there is ananda in the Atma. And one who has that happiness of the Atma, Atmananda, who is experiencing it, is not disturbed by the incessant flow of rivers of desires into the heart, so to speak. So like the ocean, the rivers are constantly pouring into the ocean, but it never rises. It stays the same. But if the moon comes, it rises. It increases. So what Mahaprabhu was saying here is that unlike other processes, which can bring us to Atmananda, Gyan and Yoga, and keep us still in the presence of the world and so forth, unaffected by it. Unlike them, his Nam Sankirtan is like the moon that rises over the ocean of our heart and causes it to rise beyond Atmananda, but to speak of that, beyond Brahmananda, and to Bhakti Ananda, and the Sattvika bhavas and other expressions of ecstasy that his realm of Lila Seva is made up of. It's a veritable world of ecstasies, Sattvika bhavs, Anubhavs, Vibhavs, Vyabhichari bhav, Sthayi bhav, and so on and so forth. If you look at these carefully, you see this is a whole world of ecstatic expressions. So, ever increasing ocean, he says, of transcendental bliss. The bliss is increasing always, not static, but a dynamic form of bliss, and an ongoing transcendental becoming. Not just being, but transcendental becoming. That's very peculiar. And this, of course, while the previous stage, asakti, we spoke a little about, speaks about the last stage of sadhana, where there's attachment, from attachment to bhakti and ruchi to attachment to the actual object of bhakti, the form of Krishna as he appears relative to one's ruchi, one's taste, acquired through sadhu sangha and subsequent practice. It follows the example of the sadhu sangha we have. From that we come, of course, into the realm of spiritual emotion, bhava, and here this verse is about bhava, and then the last two verses about prem. I guess, did I miss a verse? Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipadam Punamrita Swadhanam Sarvatma Snapanam Puram Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So I think that Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam speaks more about bhava and it is something that makes, in that which stage in which it is apparent to the sadhaka, to the devotee, that liberation is a small thing in comparison. This liberation is very small compared to now. I've entered in an ocean of blissful possibilities, and the attainment of which is very rare, sudurlava. Very rare means that by all the sadhanas of yoga and gyan put together, it can't be experienced. Only by the sadhana of bhakti, and to do it with attachment, with the kind of ideal to chant, as I say, in the way that with the ideal in mind, how they are singing, how Krishna's friends are singing, how the gopis, I think Maharaj Padmanabh gave a lecture on Gopi Gita, how the gopis are singing in their kirtan, with what kind of feeling. This is Samkirtan. With this kind of attachment to the idea of having such attachment, only that kind of sadhana will give the bhava. Therefore, it's rare in that sense. And then Pratipadam Pranamrita Swadhanam Sarva. It speaks about prem, means that in the prem, that the goal, this chanting, is nectar at every step of the way. Again, there what am I saying? There is a land of song, dance. The walking is dancing. The talking is singing. One attains a spiritual form to participate. That lila seva participation is expressed out of the name. The name goes to the background, and now it expresses itself in the form of the direct service that the devotee has aspired for. And sarvatma snapanam param vijayate, sarvatma snapanam. So prem in separation, prem in union. So I've gone over a little bit of time. So these are a few thoughts with regard to Shraddha and first verse of Siksastakam. I hope you found it helpful. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about it. If you like, I can take a couple questions if you have the time, if there are any, or clarify any of the points that were.
We'll adjust the schedule. So if anybody has a question, maybe one or two questions we can take.
I think there's a couple questions in the chat.
In the chat, okay. Good to see you there, Deborah.
Good to see you too.
There's a question that says, from Jack Marsh, thank you for teaching on this topic. In the practice of bhakti, specifically Sankirtan and japa, how should we regard subjective experiences we may have, such as being overcome, such that we shed tears? Are such experiences shraddha or faith building? I know emotional states can be misleading, which is why I ask. And there's, besides the bhava, ecstasy itself, which is a trans-psychological experience, and which is important. It's important to differentiate, as you're asking about, from that and just material emotions and so forth. But between these two differences of worlds, so to speak, the material emotions are like midnight on the dark moon night, and the spiritual trans-psychological emotions are like noon, in the brightest light of the sun. They're like worlds apart. Kama, or worldly desire, is about serving our own senses, which fosters the material identity that we're absorbed in. Whereas serving the senses of Krishna, that is called prem, that creates a whole different personality for ourselves, right? But it takes time. So in between these two extremes of kama and prem, material emotions and experiences and so forth, and actual spiritual emotions, there's something called abhas, a shadow of bhava. And sadhakas can be blessed by a shadow of bhava that is encouraging then a kind of a little initial foreshadowing of what's to come. And just a little foreshadowing of that is just so overwhelming. It's so confirming. It confirms beyond what any measure of philosophical discourse can confirm. We're trying to instill faith through a theological, philosophical discourse, but a little bit of the experience that could cause weeping, tears to stand on end, and so on, hairs to stand on end, and so forth, is so confirming. I know I'm on the right path here. So that's a blessing. So I think that is a way to think about that, but it should be identified as such only as much as it has that effect upon us, and really then becomes serves as very compelling force to continue the practice with an optimistic perspective and so forth. So I hope that's a short answer. I hope it's helpful. Then another question I see here is, Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, and dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances out of curiosity. This is from Bahia, who I think is in Germany. Out of curiosity, in Shastra, is there mention of anyone doing japa in the spiritual world? Of course, there's a lot of joyful singing to glorify Krishna, and I heard that Yashoda Ma does puja to Narayan, and Brahmins do hymns and so forth. But what about japa? In Krishna Lila, then no, those cowherd boys and girls are not doing japa overtly. They are experiencing the fruit of japa. They are what has come out of japa, what they're doing. So inside the japa of the Nam are his qualities, his form, his leelas, and his entourage, his parshadas, his associates. He can't have the leelas without his associates. So they're all inside the name. And when we chant the name, gradually these will become revealed to us, and we will become, following them in their footsteps, a participant in the Leela. We will have Leela Seva also. So they're not doing japa as a means, but they're experiencing the fruit. They're examples of the fruit, so to speak, of japa. And the context of the Leela, of course, in Krishna Leela at least, they're kind of nominal Vaishnavas. So they worship Narayan and so forth, but they love Krishna. They're distracted when offering arti to Narayan because their minds are on Krishna. But that distraction is okay. But yes, in the house of Nanda Maharaj, the deity is Narasimha, form of Narayan. The pujari is Madhu Mongol, and he has some assistants as well. He's a Brahmin boy, close friend of Krishna, sleepover friend. So he does the puja there in the house. And so that's, in terms of ritual worship, in terms of overt expressions of sadhana, you find that in relation to the deity of Narayan. You find Varnashram there, worship by different gods and goddesses, but it's all actually, when properly understood, Krishna-centered, worshiping the Katyayani to get Krishna as a husband, for example, in the Prakat Leela, and so forth. So it's not worship of gods for the sake of anything material or for what they have under themselves, but those are all just kind of props. Worship of Narayan. It also means that all what you can get from Vaidhi Bhakti, the worship of Narayan, what you can get from Varnashram, and more are all there in Goloka. In Goloka, these things are there only as I say, props to the drum of the Leela. That what is really about is the bhava that's driving it, fueling it. So overtly, they're not doing, they're not, I mean, yeah, they're not doing japa. Cowards got a lot to do. They got to get up in the morning and take care of cows and herd them, and they don't have time for japa. Now there are other departments in Vaikuntha. There may be something there, but not where we want to go. There's japa there, but it's the fruit of japa. So we got to thank you, Guru Maharaj from Jack, and we've got Chaitanya Charan. Yes, is Shringa a deity or a Shila? Yeah, I believe it's a Shila. There may be, you have to go to Nandagram. I forget, there may be a little deity there also. So that's a couple of questions. I appreciate that and your time, and I hope the rest of the retreat is, am I at the end or the beginning of the retreat?
You're well, towards the end, we just have a couple more sessions after this. So.
Okay, well, very nice for all of you to participate in this kind of retreat. Very good. Thank you. Thanks to the organizers and all the those who are conducting classes and teaching. Shri Krishna Nam Sankirtan ki jai, Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Premanande.
Swami ki jai.